Hello, hello.
Hello. All right, let's start this off. So, I'll give some background lore and then I'll turn it over to introduction. But for those who don't know, a couple years back I heard legend of an Alkaiser viewer that hit 225 level 100 characters. I didn't think much of it at the time other than this dude's built differently. But then last league I saw burning through the ranks to 10,000 depth was an interesting character name. It was Shitstain Steve. And like many, I loved it. And he just had utter domination at the early delve ladder. Ended up duking it out with Rudy. And then I learned later it was the same person. So this guy happens to just push the limits of the game, whether it be an 8-bit, 16-bit, or 32-bit limit, to a point where, your typical software dev doesn't account for this. But this is Shitstain Steve. I'll let you do your any introduction you want, but then I'll start with some questions. I'm just winging this, all right?
Hell yeah, man. Well, to be honest, there's not too much to say. I'm quite new to delving, so yeah. I mean, it's very fucking addicting because you have the permanent like satisfaction of upgrading your character all the way through until you're like 30 mirrors or whatever.
Yep. It's the ultimate like end game min max. All right, like I
Yes,
said, I'm kind of winging this, so I'll just go through questions. So, how did you get started in Path of Exile? Me personally, I was a Kriparian viewer in Diablo 3. I saw him kill the world first hardcore pre-nerf Diablo, and then I saw him start playing this game called Path of Exile. I came over, and the rest is history. But what's your origin story?
I mean, to be honest, I just was in like a school, and then some people said, "Yo, I think you should try this game. It very much would suit you." But it's many, many years ago. It was like, yeah, I don't know, like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And then I tried it, and I was honestly very, very bad, and I kind of quit it. But then I just came back, and then I think it was in yeah, in League I got my big breakthrough and got. I think at that time probably the biggest records of level 100s. I think it was like 30. Yeah, 30 was my first record.
Yeah, I think someone said in Delirium you did 40 level hundreds.
That is very true. And then in Ritual I did 54.
Is that five-way carries?
Mostly, yeah, mostly. And then a bit of money deletion with just doing like double or triple beyond.
Was it something that started off as a passive goal, and then once you started to get to 100, 150, you started to actually push for 255 with a goal in mind, or did you not know there was a limit till you hit it?
I had absolutely no idea. It sounds kind of dumb, but I just enjoyed it because it's the same with delving. I could feel that my progression of speed of doing it got faster and faster and faster and faster. And it was just, I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot.
Do you feel like throughout the progression of that number of characters, even into the last few, that you continued to get better?
I mean, honestly, with the there's way more min-maxing to do with delving compared to like just spamming like level 100 characters.
Yep. Because this is a transition question then, because one thing I'll point out here, I'll make my cam slightly so like it actually looks like it makes sense here. One thing I'll point out is last league, um, I was paying attention to the race, like the 10K between you and Rudy, and one thing I recall at the time was I'm a nosy person and I'm a numbers guy, so I was looking at your depth per hour, and it was like between 45 and 55, and Rudy was doing like 64. And at the time, I chalked that up to just Rudy being a veteran and just knowing all the absolute min max speed. But I did the same thing a couple times this league on like just some time splits of what you've been doing for depth per hour. And at times you're pushing 70. So is that something where you just feel yourself getting better and better despite maybe not necessarily gaining too much build power?
I mean, okay, there's multiple things to say about this. First of all, it's very much RNG what kind of notes you get and what kind of path you get.
Yep.
Because a few days ago, I think it was a bit before 60K, I had a split where I did 50 dips in 28 minutes.
I've had very short streaks of like over 70 an hour, but my long runs usually aren't like anything over 60. That's pretty nutty
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's all come down to RNG. Like my character, it's pretty much, it has to be like some turbo pin node or something.
yep.
But most of the time, I don't really. I mean, I can die, but it doesn't happen that much anymore.
Yeah, the 90 all res option that you've built for is tankier overall, but then not to pen. So I found that on the jug because it runs 90 all res. So basically, I just fear nothing, but then pen terrifies me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pen is like big terrifier. But to be honest, also, at least I feel the ES leech on Skirter of the Menace is like very, very noticeable. You can, and like, if it's not a turbo juice node, I can actually just stand FK and attack, mostly.
Do you
Unless it's
feel
like exiles.
do you feel the Scourge Arrow tech is either less lag or better leech overall, or both?
I mean, typically my PC is like buttery smooth, but
Yeah,
not too
the
long ago,
4090.
yeah, yeah, but also not too long ago there was like a quote-unquote performance patch, which actually made it worse for me. I'm like, it's sometimes slightly lacking, and even sometimes the game is completely lacking up right now.
Okay, here's a random question I'd thought of earlier, but Delve, just like most things in the game, is if you do it 1,000 times, it can be different every time, just with layouts and RNG. In your 64,000 depth so far, was there anything you saw along the way that you just looked at and did a double take, and it was just the rarest thing ever? Like, did you ever see like 7 alls on one screen, or like this was the worst note I've ever seen? Something that just stood out, like, oh, I saw this at 41K depth and I'll never forget it. Was there anything just bizarre?
I mean, to be honest, if my vision is completely blocking out everything that's not the downwards path, so I have no idea. But I have tried. I have two things I wrote down in a notepad, like some obscure things. For example, as a note that I literally cannot like start. The card doesn't allow me to go there. I can try and find it in a second.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and ask a question that I think is probably the question everyone wants to know. But for background, I was told the name Shitstain Steve came from something with an Alkaiser's chat. To be honest, when I first heard it, I said, this guy has got to just be some degenerate fellow American. And then I did the one video with you in the Beyond Node, and I saw the realm was Frankfurt, and I'm like, oh, I did not
Yeah.
expect Shitstain Steve to be from Europe. Give me some background on that.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the name, I just heard it one day on Al Kaiser stream. I thought it was quite funny, especially if you can put it to use, like where you can get name and life and people can see it, because it is quite amazing even to me how many people have commented that somehow they get like a slight laugh or whatever out of it, and that's good enough for me. That's worth it. I don't really care. I don't take life that serious.
All right. I don't know if you have the stream open, but I'm gonna show you something here real quick. Speaking of that subject, in the league reveal for 325, if you pause the video at a certain spot, one of the workers you can hire is working in mining. He's a miner. He goes down, but his name is Steven Shit, and his specialty is staining. Do you have any thoughts on this?
That's pretty much the only thing I have seen, and I got spammed about it, and I honestly cannot believe that Grinding Gear did that. I'm very blown away. That's amazing, man.
Do you have a feeling that you've now drawn more of an identity from this name? Like, if you go through your 255 plus now, because some have been deleted and remade, level hundreds, there's a slew of degenerate names in there. Some are pretty funny, but we're in this game known by our account name, not our character names. But so you're Turd Twister in game, whatever. But like in this case, I think in the last two leagues, more people have come to know you as Shitstain Steve than Turd Twister. Do you feel any sort of attachment or maybe identity in that name now?
I mean, very especially this league, it's completely crazy how much identity I've got to just be called Steve or whatever. Like even my homies I hang out with in Discord start to call me Steve.
You might have
So
to
yeah,
keep it.
yeah,
Just
and
go
Steve
with it.
is it's not my real name or anything. It's just a name made up thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's true in a lot of cases that, even like a very common first name, I can think of countless examples of like people who have a gaming name that's their name and then people just assume that's their real name and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually like probably like a weird outlier. My YouTube account is 18 years old. It was made in 2006. And so it's just my like, email. Like I just my YouTube name is Connor Converse. It's my real name. So at that point there was not much hiding and I just went with it.
Yeah.
So you've said that you plan to do a final stream for 65,535, which is, as some of you might not know, the delve cap. This is 2 to the 16th power minus 1. Delve depth is coded in 16-bit, so beyond that depth, it either resets to 0 or just totally ends, depending on if they fixed it since the first person standard hit it. But you mentioned you'll probably do a stream for that. Are you looking to do that on Twitch Live? I think you plugged your Twitch as Turd Twister X.
Yes, sir. I just need to set it up, and then it's pretty much good to go, I guess.
All right, I'll give you a shout out with the Twitch. Maybe depending on timing, I could land a host, but I think that'd be fun to watch the finish line, the finale.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be like I'm not too sure yet. But probably like 300 or 200 depth. I don't know.
All right. Do you have plans for 325? Are you going to delve again, or maybe do some other goal? What's your calling for the coming league? What are you looking forward to?
Uh, let's just keep it as a mystery, and you will see pretty shortly.
Okay. Is there anything you saw in the 325 reveals besides some strange NPCs that has you excited? Do you like the typical, build your own base of dudes and send out missions play style? They had that in RuneScape. They've had in like what Age of or, I get these confused. They're like Age of War, Age of Empires games. But is that something you like in games, or are you not planning on interacting much in the league mechanic?
I mean, to be honest, it's not really for me at all. I don't think it's too exciting to just get some passive stuff. But I mean, regardless, the game overall looks amazing, and I'm gonna play 100% for sure.
All right. You've so we talked about the name origin in Al Kaiser's stream. I've been a long time Al Kaiser viewer since the first Paragon 100 with the Al Kaiser route. I guess just to rattle off a few names, are there content creators in ARPGs or PoE that you typically hang out in those communities and float around from stream to stream? What are your favorites?
So to be honest, I watch pretty much all streamers you can think of, but I'm just typically very passive and never say anything. I just have it on the second screen and blast. Meanwhile, that's not too much interaction, but I watch probably all names you can think of.
Okay. Has there ever been a moment where you were in a stream, maybe this league or something, where you were brought up and you just had the temptation to say something and you're just like, nah, I'm gonna be the mystery man.
Yes, quite often, honestly. Like even I even watch you and Lance discuss kind of stuff and like say, "Oh, look at Steve" or whatever, and I just I just laugh about it and move on and keep playing.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So, Path of Exile 2, I thought I'll ask you a few questions about. From what we've seen so far, my usual thing I say is what we've seen is a largely like axe and campaign and a lot of early game stuff. And I typically am someone who likes to push end game really well. But is there anything you've seen so far in PoE 2 that has you excited that you could see yourself playing that way? Do you like slower pace or faster pace in an end game? Like what? Just any thoughts on PoE 2 so far?
I mean, it looks very good, and I'm excited for it. I'm like kind of the mixed, not too fast and not too slow. For example, let's give you an example. Torchlight Infinite, that is an example for me that's too fast, and also do not like the art style and stuff. But like PoE one right now is slightly fast, but it's also like okay-ish. But definitely not like yeah. I can take it a bit slower, I guess.
Okay. I like. I guess I probably favor fast, but when I say fast, it's not necessarily like you
It's like
know.
a fine balancing act, I feel like.
Yeah, it's not like the crouching tuna, lightning warp, tornado shot fast. It's more like there's just a lot going on type situation, not necessarily like a velocity thing.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so um, I had a plan here. I had a question I just thought of 10 seconds ago. I'm drawing a blank here. With the trailer we had, a lot of people have been calling this PoE 1.5 because they've added a lot of things that were originally teased in PoE 2 to the game. One of those things was gold, and I can't help but notice that the quantities that were dropping for an auto pickup currency was something in the order of several thousand during like each pack during tier 16 content. Now, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the cap on gold is probably 2.147 billion. Do you see yourself maybe obtaining maximum gold next league in a record pace?
That very much depends on like how it's obtained and what quantities. For example, let's say like turbo scale with Delph depth, then
Yeah. We
I could probably get it very fast.
we were talking about that how like it probably I forget if they were talking about gold only, if they were talking about the like resources for the like mining and stuff, but they mentioned they were like scaling things with map tier and quantity. So I was curious on that, like if they make it in Delve, like all flames can't drop in Delve, except for technically Kurgal can drop an Abyss all flame. It's the only one that can drop in Delve. But
Yeah.
if it can drop in Delve, that'd be a pretty big head start. But if it's like some lead mechanics where there's no interaction with Delve or whatever content you happen to be doing, then that's a little rough. But based
Yeah,
off
that's
math
kind
I
of
was doing, yeah, it might be like only a couple weeks of play to hit or less.
yeah. To be honest, in general, I was kind of sad to not see any Delph changes at all. I don't think the balancing for like the rewards is good enough for how hard it is. It doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah, I am a little disappointed that the main money this league and past leagues it's been different. Some way back it was fractured fossils. Then things changed. There's been times where sulfite's decent or azurite's decent money. There's been times where certain rare fossils were good money. There's been times where all necklaces are good money. But in this league, it was curiosities for adorned. But those being gone, on top of the Fizz Az helmets also being gone, might be a pretty big hit to money for Delve. So that's kind of why I was like huffing copium that like maybe there's like really good gold or something for the league mechanic in Delve. But I'm a little pessimistic going into the league on what the returns are on Deep Delve. I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's also just like, for example, Azerite. It makes no fucking sense that it caps out at like 1.5k. It should go scale all the way down to
It
6,000.
used to scale to 6K. You used to be able to do at 6K a tier 3 Azurite node and get 40K Azurite.
Yeah, I have no idea why that's taken away. That doesn't make sense to me.
I've kind of hoped that they would do like the harvest rework where they basically make Azurite like your harvest juice and just like have the vendors sell different like fossil combos for different amounts depending on how rare the fossil's supposed to be. But I don't think that's necessarily high on their priority list. But I will
Yeah, yeah.
I will say a positive thing that looking forward maybe for whether it be PoE 2 or future content is whenever they are asked about lead mechanics they like, it seems like at least Jonathan always brings up Delve and how he likes Delve. And I think Delve has done a lot better than like your Diablo Greater Rift setup where the infinite dungeon is just like +5 stat and it's the same as level 1. But I am optimistic when they keep saying they like Delve. And I think Toda was supposed to be that way. But then it was just pure cheese. so it didn't end up being like Delve at all. But I
Yeah,
always get optimistic looking forward for that stuff. But I like that playstyle.
yeah, for sure, man. I agree.
All right, I'm gonna throw this out here. Last league, you said you did 6K depth, and the league before actually, as Venomgyre's strength stack. Now,
Yes, sir.
during one of your Reddit posts, you linked a picture of your character's slash deaths upon hitting 6K delve on strength stack Venomgyre, and it was 3,950. That might
Yeah.
be the most painful yet impressive thing I've ever witnessed. Just the 4K deaths to 6K. What is the play style on a build like that like in an environment where everything can one shot you? How different was that?
It was very, very painful at the end. Holy fuck. I mean, sometimes I would die like 20 times on one note but I just had to get through sometimes because the pathing around would be too much. I would rather just, have to play almost perfect to get through. It was not recommended though. Let's just say it like that.
You're okay. In game, Shitstain Steve returns. The first character reached depth 64,300. We're doing it live. We're doing the
Yeah,
mid
yeah,
interview
yeah.
delving.
Like delving for me right now. It's literally. I'm not even kidding when I say it's 0.0% one brain power. It's completely automatic. It's just I've done it so much now that I don't have to focus at all on the game.
Guys, I'd
It's
like
kind
to
of weird.
point out he just hit the 64,250 right before I messaged him for this interview. So that's actually I saw the message, then I added him. So that's in the time he's done 50. All
Yeah,
right.
I don't even know what kind of notes I'm doing. It's literally just automatic. It's crazy.
Okay. Looking forward to next league. Are you maybe going to return to your strength stacking roots? Can you see yourself up that alley?
I mean, I can just fucking say it. Of course. I mean, I'm gonna play literally the exact thing that you are talking about. Send it Molten Strike.
Have you been seeing some of the now granted it's 5K gameplay right now for me, but I as someone who loves like, you know, spell builds that fill the screen with projectiles and light and stuff, I don't play many melee builds, but this one has got me hooked. I'm really enjoying it. So I think especially if you struggled on strength stack Venomgyre, you might really like this one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, keeping the mystery. Fuck it. Let's just talk about it. So I'm just gonna do the good old. I mean, you probably know by now that I've played Stream Stacker for quite a few times, so I have a very much routine on how to do it well. And I'm just gonna do. I mean, a few things have changed this league, but I'm just gonna do Bone Zone into Dual Strike of Ember Dexterity into Molten Strike of Destiners.
Is there any tips for early game strength stack that you'd give to someone who is maybe more late game focused and a novice at the league start melee?
I mean, it's kind of hard because obviously I'm, especially in the beginning of the league, I'm playing really fucking degenerate.
Yep.
So I just get ahead of the curve and farm really early, and that's how it happens.
See, I do the opposite. I get behind the curve, and then usually I let the people ahead of the curve get Shaper's Touch for me to buy. But this league, I'm not using Shaper's Touch, so I should go ahead and get ahead of the curve and try to buy those things faster. But it's a hard
Yeah,
switch to flip.
for example, last time I played, I think I got a double elevated helmet like the start of day two or something like this. The crafting stuff is very very cheap if you rush the game.
That's one thing that's been true for a long time about PoE is doing some of those insane endgame things as early as possible is actually such a huge advantage because things that might be just like some gamble fest that's 2 div per attempt for most people. Sometimes that stuff on day 2 is like 10 chaos because people are still generating the resources, but they just need chaos and no one else is doing it. So it's actually cheaper to do it earlier by far.
Yeah, like, for example, like last league when I made rings, whale orbs were like 40 chaos, and now they're like what over 10 divines.
Yep. All right. So I'm gonna go out on some closing words. I'll plug Turd Twister X Twitch for. Are you planning on maybe about a day and a half from now?
I think right now it looks like somewhere Monday. I'm not too sure, but somewhere Monday, I feel like.
All right, I'll give the plug. We can all watch the masterpiece of someone who's perfected his craft by 65,535 depth. Bruce Lee once said, "I fear not the man who's done one delve node 60 or who's done 65,000 delve nodes. I fear the man who's done that delve node 65,000 times." So we'll see what perfection looks like when we tune in. If there's any parting words that you want to shout out to the community, leave it for your outro right here.
I mean, if people are interested to see, they can come and watch. But the thing I'm really curious about, so last league, Mana Forge was literally exactly the same, right?
It had charms, so it was stronger actually.
Yeah, nobody played it, but if I played that build, it's so much better for delving than the penance. It's actually insane, at least in my opinion. I would have been a fucking. I don't even know how hard it would have went if I played that instead. But to be honest, even then, if you considered all the things, still the Rudy build is still the #1 build ever.
It very well might have been better last league. I'll speak on that, I guess, that some people last league asked me, "Oh, so Mana Forge is dead after the anomalous mana leech removal. Can I still play it?" And I had to tell them, like, Mana Forged Arrows is still insane. Like, Nier played it on league start to 3k depth in like 2 weeks. But the only reason I was leaning into the reverse snapshot was because it was superior for Valdos, and I liked having the Valdos income because there was a number of reasons it was better. It wasn't leech dependent on damage reduction. It could do the 90% reduction nodes because it was using a two-handed weapon, not a quiver. So I liked the Valdos angle while still being able to delve. But there's no reason Mana Forged Arrows couldn't have been like as good or stronger last league. Like, that just shows the difference in like power level.
Yeah, it's crazy. But also, by the way, when you said if there are any words I want to say, I very much have to thank all the people that have helped me with the most crazy things. Like, for example, some guy for free just offered me to farm a full quad tab of like 8 modded maps to get faster sulfide. And like a scuffed character, it took like a few days to do it, but he still did it.
Yeah.
And I've gotten like a bunch of currency, even I think 2 1 voices and whatever. And
Someone actually offered me the 2 passive voices about 2 months ago, and I said, "Nah, I'm good. I want to, just go as I'm going, go as I'm making money." And he just said, "Should I just give them to Steve? Are you fine with that?" I'm like, "Yeah, give them to Steve."
that's insane, man. But also, by the way, my Widow Hail, you've probably seen that.
I've seen it. I saw that very early in the league, 249 +1 arrow momentum. And what did you pay for that?
Yeah, that's another story. I paid nothing for it. It's another story of a guy that just wanted to help out.
That's
So I just
crazy.
had to give me my old bow, and he was fine with that because he said, "Yeah, if it helps the cause and you want to push really hard, I'm okay to take a sacrifice so this guy can fucking break the
And the
roof."
funny part is, being as you're on pace to hit it during the last 24 hours, stuff like that might have been the difference. It
Very
probably would
easily,
have
yeah.
been.
That's also another difference though. Like the past, I think it's maybe 2 weeks now, I have had the complete summer holidays, and that is very much carried for sure. Otherwise, it would not have been possible.
All right.
It
Well,
it came down to the almost very last day, which is
actual last
actually
day it's
insane.
going to be, yeah, because for North America, it's Tuesday afternoon it ends, and you're going to be hitting it on like Monday.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to plug. Steve's going to be streaming his final push for Delve in about a day and a half. I'll go ahead and link that up, and we can all give him support and raise our hands in the air for him to take our energy. But this is going to be a photo finish on something that will maybe never be replicated, just in terms of raw grind and power. But thanks for the interview, and
Yeah, hell yeah, man. It was very fun.
we'll check you out for the finish line. Thank you.
Yes, sir.